Good morning, everyone. My name is Tassie Dahalan, and I'm here representing the Free Palestine movement of Sri Lanka. I would like to thank all of you, the press and the media who are here in attendance today, to listen to our Sri Lankan hero, our golden girl, our compatriot and friend, Sameera Mehebbudeen, who was illegally abducted in international waters whilst aboard the global Sumud flotilla, trying to break the decades-long siege on Gaza and deliver humanitarian aid to the starving population of Palestine. She, along with 400 other activists from around the world, were arrested and subjected to the vile, inhumane, and abusive torture at the hands of the most brutal IDF regime. We are hoping your questions will be answered during her storytelling, but at the end, if you still have more questions, you will be able to share. I would also like to raise concerns about the rising local racist sentiment online, where there is complete racial Islamophobia happening in the comments on Facebook especially. The funding of many of these podcasters and Facebook pages are by Israel. So that's something that Sri Lanka really needs to be concerned about. The dangers of normalizing such hatred using the example of Israel, where people think it's okay to defend rape of prisoners on their news channels or in their parliament, should not be tolerated here. The number of child prisoners in Israel, that is also something that is very, very concerning. And to explain that society doesn't get here overnight, that it is brought through continuous indoctrination, through institutional policies and online platforms. That the Palestinian cause is so important because standing against such dehumanization there is standing against it here. Without further ado, let me hand over to Sameera Mehebbudeen. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm Sameera Mehebbubdeen, one of the Global Sumud Flotilla participants and a Global Sumud Flotilla boat medic. Today, I'll be telling my story, my comrade's story, about how we were taking aid to Gaza and how we were abducted in the international waters. So, Global Sumud Flotilla started sailing from Marmaris, Turkey on May 14th, and we started sailing towards Greek islands, and we had an anchorage there due to the bad weather because the tide was high, sea was rough, and many of us fell seasick. And on 17th of night, we started seeing a lot of drone movement, started seeing warships in a distance, and we have been followed. And on 18th, after the noon, all our communications were cut down. No mobile data. Our CCTV was cut down, our VHF line was cut down, and we were intercepted by the IDF. There were two warships, and one of their ribs approached us and asked us to stand up, hands up, and turn around the boat towards their warship. So we did not respond to that. They boarded our boat forcefully. We were in international waters. We were not in their territorial waters. We were not going to apartheid state of Israel. We were going to Gaza with aid. We were intercepted. We were subjected to brutality. We were sent to the front of the boat. And later, another Israeli boat approached us, picked us up from there, and took us to the warship. There, the trauma and the brutality started. The very step we took into that ship, we started seeing their inhumane, monstrous, and brutal treatment towards our participants. They dragged us, made us kneel down, took us our life jackets, took over the warm clothes from us, was very cold, and we were subjected to so much atrocities. Then we were taken one by one into a dark container. This dark container, there were 5 men with arms, and that is the chamber that they used to beat our comrades. I was taken in, forcefully knelt, and they tried to take off my hijab. I refused, I resisted. Then one of their soldiers came close to me, asked me to take off my nose ring, which I refused. Then he wanted me to take it off, or he said he will rip it off. So I took it off, gave it to him. He asked for my earrings, I gave my earrings, and he pushed me out of that container. I thought the nightmare was over from there, but I stepped into more brutality because I saw my comrades beaten up, bleeding, with rib fractures. Immediately, as a medic, we started treating them, we started triaging them, but we did not have anything that we can provide any medical support to our comrades. So there was food, the food was frozen flatbread. So we used the frozen flatbread to bandage our comrades using t-shirts and water bottles. We splintered them using these plastic bottles because they were in agony. They were beaten up, punched in the face, bleeding, and no medical attention was given to us. There were severe injuries, severe fractures, severe tased wounds. They tased people on the head and in the mouth. There is one of my comrades sustained 15 burn injuries by a taser. Women punched in the face, broken noses, head injuries, concussions. They were beaten in their stomach and sexually assaulted. We were kept in containers. There were 4 containers. 1 of them were the beating chamber. 3 were given for us to stay, and 2 we used as hospitals because the amount of people who were injured was so many. We had to triage them there. There was doctors from Turkey, doctor from Ireland, and a doctor from Spain, I think, and myself and Malaysian doctor. And I have to clarify this one thing. I'm not a doctor. I'm a medic. I'm an emergency medic. So I supported these doctors. We triaged them. But we did not think some of them could make the night because it was very cold and the containers didn't have any doors. And what they did, we had a small open space. They flooded it with water. So we will be cold, miserable, in pain and agony and traumatized. They came in the middle of the night, woke us up with stun grenades. People were terrified, traumatized because of the brutality. And during the night, they intercepted few boats and they were treated miserably. They were in so much pain, punched using elbows, knees, and tased continuously. So we spent 3 days in that container, not knowing the time where we were. We were kept on the sea. And in inhumane situations, we had to fight and demand for water, demand for food. But many of us were on a hunger strike from day 1. Then we were taken to Ashdod. In Ashdod, it was more and more brutal because they kept us on a stress position. We were on a stress position more than 3 hours, and we saw their monstrosity in Ashdod far more better than we were in the warship. My comrades were already beaten brutally, but again and again they were beating them up where they sustained injuries, but they made sure that these injuries that did not show out into the world. They were mostly internal injuries, except which were visible in their faces and the taser wounds. And they played music, they mocked us, they laughed at us, they clapped when our people suffered, and they zip-tied us. Some of us were zip-tied in the front, and some of us were zip-tied behind. So think about people who were zip-tied behind and face on parallel to the ground. They were in so much pain. They were requesting to cut down the zip tie. They did not, and they were kept in that position for hours. Sending through us immigration was another terrifying experience. You must have seen the videos, how they were treated. Women, how they were treated, assaulted while they were taken to the immigrations. They were dragged. The way that they took every comrade to the immigration was, they have a very unique way of carrying people. They just tied our hands back and put our heads down below our knees and made us walk. So even after immigrations, we were sent to several checkpoints, security measures. Even there, they humiliated us, verbally assaulted us, sexually, verbally assaulted women. They used foul language. And when we arrived in the point that we were supposed to board the prison board, we were handcuffed and our legs were cuffed as well. Prison buses were very congested, tiny rooms. They put us into tiny rooms, unbreathable rooms. And people started screaming because they couldn't breathe. We were not given water, we were not given food from that time we entered the tent in Ashdod. From that time until we were released to the airport in Ramon, we were not given with water, we were not given with food. They used dogs to traumatize our members. They used guns when we were in prison. We were taken out multiple times from these cells. We were made kneel again on the cold concrete slabs. Women were assaulted with brutal language, foul language, verbally. They used sexual language, and there was these people who used to stare at us through the windows of these cells in a very foul way. And we were taken into this prison area. We were paraded and we were displayed. We were not allowed to lift our heads. Every time we had to lower our heads, almost close to our knees, bent down. And one of the officers lined us up, and he said that I want one of you to make trouble, and I want to kill one of you today. So he pointed a gun at one of my comrades' head, and he clocked the gun. It was the most terrible, horrible experience I think any one of my comrades will ever go through in life. Because I wouldn't say Israelis, IDF, are human beings. They are created in a very different way. They did not have any remorse. They did not have any empathy. They were brutal. I really don't have the exact word. How can I explain their behavior? But they were not human. On the very next day morning, we were not allowed to sleep. We were continuously woken up. When we tried to settle down from every time we were taken out, we were changed in between cells. and yelled, shouted at, and finally we were sent into a cell which had 11 people in it. The entire area was 14 cells. They had 14 cells in that area. We did not get to see any Palestinians in that area, but we could witness that their presence, because all these cells were, the beds, the walls were written with Arabic, and there was sign of children in those cells because alphabets were written on the wall, drawings were there on the wall, and people have written letters on those walls. We really don't know whether they made home, what happened to them, but there were people on those cells and their presence was felt by us. On the last day we were taken out, we were brutally paraded and we were taken into prison buses. We traveled around 5 hours to come to Ramoni Airport. Then we were boarded into flights and deported to Turkey. Whatever we experienced was the 1% or less than 1% of the Palestinian people experience daily. We were individuals from the international community. We were activists. We had delegations back home who were fighting for us. People were speaking for us. People were demanding our release. But think about the Palestinian people who has no state, no protection, no proper defense. And these people were arbitrary. They could do anything within their geological boundary. So what Palestinian experience is much, much, much worse than what we went through. Yes, our comrades, including myself, we were traumatized. That experience sends a chill along my spine when I think about it. But this is the truth that the world needs to see about this apartheid state. So beyond us, I ask you to see the plea, the brutality, the trauma, the atrocities, the crimes that are committed against Palestinian people. We opened the world to see their brutality, so see through beyond us. We were desperate to show the world. We were desperate to bring aid to Gaza. I don't know whether it's not even bravery. It's so much desperation because there is no other means and ways that we could reach Gaza. So we were abducted in international waters arbitrarily because they could do anything they wish for and the world is silent about it. So if any country can arrest and abduct, it's not an arrest, it's an abduction, because we did not try to enter Israel illegally, we tried to enter Palestine. We were trying to enter Gaza. So if they can do it to an international community, so whatever that is shown in these videos from Gaza and Palestine are much, much worse than you see, and you are seeing the fraction of it. So I ask you as media, I ask you as people who speak the truth, to show the world what really Israel is. It's just another project of the US, and the military, the IDF are mercenaries. They are just paid mercenaries, paid assassins. Thank you so much.